Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Quickly before this one starts, we've passed 500 subscribers. That's absolutely huge. Thank you to each and every one of you who have subscribed, especially my Leopard ones and Fuckwolf 190s out there. I really appreciate you guys. I said I'd do something for 500 subscribers back when I had like 200 something. I said I'd do something for 250, 500, 750, and 1000. The 250 one didn't work out too well. It's just a stupid kill montage. Nobody really likes those anymore, so that's kind of a shame because I liked it. But I'll figure something else out for 500, something more enjoyable. I said I was going to do something, so I will do it, even if it takes 600 subscribers for the 500 one to come out. Also, real quick, this video is going to be formatted a little bit differently. I'm going to have some tutorial stuff, some typical gameplay commentary kind of stuff, and just nice games I've had. I'll leave the timestamps for those on the video itself, so you just have to drag your mouse along like the little red bar or whatever, or you can see them in the description and just kind of pick out whatever you want. Also, there's going to be no background music in this one. Let me know if you guys like the music in the background, or if you don't. I had one guy a while ago say he liked it, and it's one of the reasons he liked my style. But, I'm just out here trying to please the majority. That's just kind of how YouTube works, so feedback is appreciated. Anyways, what we're here for, the MiG-21 SMT, it got changed to 10.3 not too long ago, but by the time you're seeing this, it may be completely moved around. Gaijin's changing battle ratings pretty frequently these days, it seems, but at 10.3, the MiG-21 is an absolute menace, as that poor guy just found out. Its flight performance is probably the best of the battle rating as far as like acceleration and speed, as well as for R60s. I don't like R60s for top tier combat because pretty much everything has flares. They're very easily flared and very short range missiles, but at 10.3, assuming you don't get a full up tier, these missiles are perfectly adequate and probably some of the best that you can have. Not too many things have flares, and not everything is nearly as fast as you are either, so the range can be a little bit extended, at least the launch range of the R60, depending on how the speed of the target is at the time of launch. That is a perfect example right there that you just saw of the R60 just kind of changing performance based on speed. We're going to see here in a little bit that shooting missiles straight downwards on a target isn't always the best option, but since that guy was moving nice and slow, I was able to do that. The F5C flared the missile. The flares rendered in kind of late. I was kind of confused as where that one went, but it was, self-explanatory when Gaijin decided to render the flares. But that puts me with an F5 on my tail, and that Harrier GR1, he wasn't much of a threat. If you notice, I kind of just glanced back to make sure he wasn't within 1 kilometer of me, because, SRMs just don't have any legs on them. We're able to pick up a kill on him right there. Luckily, he didn't lock the sun and shoot while it was locked, but it's a nice Harrier GR1 out of the match. Pretty easy target for the MiG-21 SMT. There's not much that guy can do. We don't get anything on the F4C, somebody else kills him, so I'm just going to cut up here to the F5C. We get a little head-on shot with him. I'm not sure if he shot or if he didn't. He may have had stealth on, but I didn't see any tracers there, and we're able to get a nice critical hit in, and that's going to allow us to be able to pull onto a 6 nice and clean and finish the job. Now, I do say nice and clean, but it's far from clean. You're going to see these guns, they're the same as, say, on the BIS or on the MiG-23. The guns aren't the best. They do almost no damage. They have no muzzle velocity. You get low ammo. They're just miserable guns to use. You can see right here he's eating all my shots, and, well, anyways, we're just going to ignore that. Yeah, I crashed too. I'm not perfect, so be it. Since the guns on this plane aren't the best, yeah, you can get kills on lower battle rating aircraft that you're going to be facing, but most of your kills are going to be coming from these R60s. And as I said, at top tier, these are not my favorite missiles. I think they're probably the worst missiles you can have at top tier. So let's just take a look at when you are top tier, how to employ them correctly. You can see right there, I kind of waited a second. Let's watch that again. We're going to pull onto the 6 of this F4E here and be patient. Wait for the right opportunity to launch them, because F4Es have pretty much infinite flares, and they're going to dodge an R60 very, very easily. So I'm kind of holding lock right now, waiting for him to give me an opportune shot, because I know he's paying attention by looking at that flare drop. And here we go. He's pulling very hard angle of attack here, which means my missile is going to be pulling a lot of lead to get in front of him, which means the field of view is a little outside of where his flares are dropping, because it's taking such a dramatic angle. So the flares are a little outside the seeker cone just because of how hard the missile is pulling. And as a result, he's unable to flare that missile and I get the kill. That's a proper use of R60s. Now, here's an example of improper use of R60s. I'm launching directly down on the target, which means my missile's going to be going very fast. It's going to be a little hard for it to maneuver because of how fast it's going. It's not going to be pulling as many degrees a second as it would if it wasn't going so fast. And on top of that, I didn't even give the missile proper lead. So that one had absolutely no chance of hitting the target, and we're just going to have to go with a gun kill instead. Side note, make sure you get out of the way of those phantoms and head-ons like you saw me evade there. They are going to tear you up if you commit to them. Here we go again with another example of a good use of R60s. We have an F4 and F4E, so he's got the flares, and judging by how he's already flaring, he definitely sees me. But I noticed that he stops flaring, he's making a straight line towards ground targets, so that led me to suspect that he has bombs on his plane, and he was probably looking at the targets he was about to bomb, hence why he stopped flaring, and it was just obvious the way he was tunnel vision in on those targets. I knew it was a good time to launch the missile there because I suspected that he wasn't paying attention, and he wasn't going to either maneuver or flare away my missile. Moral of the story, pay attention to what your enemy's doing. Another bad example of R60 shots there, I shot directly down at an F4C. Again, the missile's just not maneuverable when you do that, and then I shot a missile at an aircraft that was already flaring. The R60 is never going to hit a target if the missile's being pre-flared, like you saw that F4E do. Unfortunately, I mean, there wasn't much I could do because he kind of dropped the flares right as I launched the missile, but it is what it is, and that missile just had absolutely zero chance of hitting the target. If somebody's pre-flaring you with an R60, don't even bother. It's not going to hit, it's going to track the flares right off of the rail, and especially on something like the SMT where you only have 4 of them versus say 6 on the MiG-21 BIS or MiG-23, you do have to be a little more trigger patient with these R60s. Now moving into the longest portion of the video, this is I believe a 6-kill game I had in the SMT, and I was 1 versus, I don't know how many targets, maybe 4? 1 versus 4, something like that. And we're able to pull a win out of it. So how am I going to do that? Well, we're going to start by blasting this Harrier GR1 out of the sky. He's a little tunnel vision trying to get an SRAM off, and even with these guns at those speeds, I'm able to take him out pretty easily. Unfortunately though, we go for a head-on with that F100 a little bit too late. He has very high velocity cannons, mine are very low velocity. In the MiG-21, any of them with the GSH-23s, I think they're called, those 23 millimeters, you're going to want to line up your head-on 2 to 3 kilometers minimum. If you're already inside of that range, don't even line up a head-on, because even if you know that you have to evade and not commit to a head-on, you just don't have time, especially with something that is supersonic and has high velocity cannons. The closure rate of both the aircraft and the bullets are going to be way too fast, and you're not going to get out in time, as you saw there in that clip. So now I'm suffering with an oil leak, which means my engine is inevitably going to get hot, overheated, and die because the oil is going to drain, and as well as we now only have 1 elevator. To make matters worse, we have 3 aircraft on our 6, so what can I do? Pretty much the only thing I can't make that 4 aircraft. The only thing I can do in this situation is run. I am faster than every single one of these planes in a straight line. The F8 has some pretty damn long-range missiles, but even those are not enough to catch a supersonic MiG-21 at low altitude, which means high drag. The missiles are going to be slowing down a lot faster, which means the range isn't quite as high. On top of that, I know that I just have to turn a little bit left or right. On our way back to base, the hunter wanted to commit to a head-on. That's his mistake. Anyone could have got that kill, regardless if you're in a MiG-21 or not. If you're going to fly in a straight line through a spray of bullets, it could be a biplane, and you still could probably die. Don't commit to head-ons, guys. That's the #1 mistake I see noob jet players make, and really any player in general. And at this point I've realized that a bad situation is a lot worse than I thought, because all of my teammates are at the base as well, besides that guy way over there off to the left of the screen, doing God knows what, probably trying to ground pound or something like that. But the plan's still the same. We're going to make a line straight for the base. There are SAMs on the airfields at this battle rating, so you can use SAMs to protect yourself. And while you can avoid SAM missile launches, it's difficult, and not everybody knows exactly how. So, you know, 9 out of 10 times running to the SAMs for protection is going to work out for you. So for the sake of this video not being half an hour long, I cut out the part where I landed back on my airfield, rearmed, repaired, and now we're back in the air. I switched loadouts to 2 R3S radar guided missiles and 2 R60s. The reason I switched to radar guided missiles because in the time that I cut the landing, one F8U Corsair on the other team died and all of my teammates died, leaving me in a 1 versus I don't know how many situation. So ideally, in theory, I was going to take out as many, I guess the maximum being 2 enemies by surprise. A lot of people aren't going to have RWR, as you've noticed throughout this match. Some pretty low tier planes. I think I may have been top tier in this match, so not many people would know that there's a radar missile being launched at them, and the more people I can kill without them even knowing I'm there, the better. We take out that T2 right there rather easily. I don't know what he was doing, but he allowed me to just kind of slot on a 6 very easily. And we have a couple planes, and one of them is shooting missiles from our 6 o'clock. He only has AIM-9Es at best, but he did have a bit of speed, and he was coming from a dive, so the missile could have caught up to me, but I just pulled a few little turns and bled some speed just to make sure that the missile wasn't going to catch me. Now I am flying over my base because, one, when I found them, they were already on my 6, so a disadvantage has become even more of a disadvantage when you don't get the jump on your opponent. So yeah, I'm kind of flying over the airfield. I didn't really have any intention of camping at the airfield. As you see, I'm just kind of flying over it, trying to run away from them. I'm sorry, that was an F-100 or an F-104, not an F-100, so that missile may have been a little more deadly than I thought, but regardless, he overshoots, he doesn't have flares, and he was well within the no escape zone of an R60. If I were him, I would have been a little more aggressive with pulling off to the right as I exited that attack, and that way he'd be extending a little bit more range a little bit more quickly between me and him, which would have given him a better chance at surviving my missile. But he didn't, and now I'm down to just 2 missiles again with plenty of enemies alive left on the other team that I kill. So I'm going to opt for a little RTB here, and I'm going to rearm and get back up in the air once again. So the plan is still the same. I still have the exact same loadout, the 2 radars and the 2 heat seekers, and hopefully I'm going to be able to take some of these guys by surprise. I spotted this A7D Corsair. I'm not sure how. I think maybe one of my AI planes was painting him up in the sky for me. Nonetheless, he's disappeared from being spotted, but I do still see his dot. So I dive down, try to get low to the ground, make sure he doesn't see me as I close in, and on top of that, I'm just trying to give myself a good radar solution because me being the complete novice that I am, I completely forgot if the A7D has RWR or not. It more than likely does, but for the sake of wanting to use these R3Rs, that's what I'm going to do. So I get a lock here, it looks like he's starting to fly toward me, and I thought that was a perfect time to launch the R3R. Unfortunately, he knows how to evade them from the head-on. He kind of did one of those like little barrel roll, loop-de-turn things, and they're generally pretty good at dodging missiles. Not sure why he fired flares there, but maybe he had chaff with it, I'm not really sure. Regardless, he tries to pull back into me in that 1 circle, and you're just not going to beat the MiG-21 in an A7 with a 1 circle fight. He didn't even get his nose on target. I wasn't worried about him getting his nose on target. I could see how slowly he was pulling around, and I knew I had a pretty easy gunshot there. Unfortunately for me, that is a much scarier target. That's an F8U Corsair, I believe it's called. He not only has some pretty scary flight performance, but he's also got some pretty scary missiles, despite whatever that one was. I'm not sure if he's using the AIM-9Ds or not. I don't know why that one didn't track, but I'm lucky it didn't because I was within 1.5 kilometers, I believe, which is a very, very deadly range for that missile. I would have had to pull really hard and lose all my speed. Luckily for me, he doesn't seem too interested right now. I'm not sure if he's just trying to run back to his teammate or if he's running back to his airfield. And quite frankly, I don't have the time to care. If you look at the top, my tickets are pretty damn low, and they're only going to get lower as time goes on, and I've come this far. I do not want to lose the game due to time or PvE on the ground winning it for me or losing it for me. Now, as I'm kind of getting into this dogfight with the Corsair, I noticed that the A7D hasn't quite gone down yet. I'm really confused and really concerned. I don't know if he's going to be rejoining the fight or able to crawl his way just within missile range for his AIM-9Js, so I'll just kind of fly over his direction just in case he needs any further attention. Luckily, he jumps right into the ground right as I pull up to him, so I'm able to focus all of my attention, at least for now, on the F8 Corsair. And well deserved. The F8 is no slouch in a dogfight, and in many cases he could probably even beat me. Not sure how I'm able to lock him straight down like that. It's beyond me. I have no idea. Unfortunately, the missile doesn't track anyways, and I'm down to my 2 R60s, which I'm not too concerned about because I believe that there are only 2 enemy planes left on their team, and 2 should be more than enough. Queuing up an R60 here, I'm going to launch it at him. This should be a decent launch, but maybe he cut his afterburner right there, and that's how he was able to avoid that one. However, he is at extremely low energy state, and I'm able to queue up another R60. This one should have him easily, and somehow it doesn't. I'm not sure what happened on that one. He didn't flare it. Even if he did cut his afterburner, it probably should have hit him anyways because it was a side aspect launch. Nonetheless, we're going to continue to dogfight him there, get a gunshot, miss it, and this hunter just kind of comes out of nowhere and almost ends our life just like that. So we got to kind of put it in a straight line now that we're dealing with 2 targets, get some speed back up, and we're also out of missiles. I know that this hunter is an FGA 9, I believe it's called, the premium one, which means he's carrying AIM-9Es, and surprisingly the F8 hasn't shot a missile at us since the very beginning, so I'm kind of wondering if he's out of them, because when I'm escaping him I'm well within range of AIM-9Ds and he's not shooting them at me. The hunter, on the other hand, has launched a couple, actually both of his AIM-9Es. They're very easy to dodge. I don't know if he actually thought they were going to hit me or not, or if he was just trying to slow me down. Nonetheless, he does kind of pull within gun range of me, but that's only because I want him to be within gun range of me. The hunter, while it is pretty fast for a plane without an afterburner, he just stands no chance in a vertical energy fight like this. And while yes, he could have stall fought me there and probably won that in the sense of the stall fight, he still would have never been able to get guns on target because I could have just pointed the plane straight down toward the ground and dove away from him and accelerated out the ass, and he really had no chance that entire fight. So I can't really get on him a lot for that. He didn't really do anything wrong. I think he probably also expected to have a teammate with him. Not sure what happened to the F8 Corsair, but he just kind of disappeared out of the map. At least I didn't pay attention at the time. I was headed back to the airfield to go finish him off wherever the hell he was, and I checked the scoreboard, noticed that he's no longer playing, and that wins me the match. Now let's move into the final clip of this video, and in my opinion is probably the most consistent with how I try to play the MiG-21, and as well as what the average turnout of your game is going to look like. So here we go, brand new match, and you notice I'm kind of climbing, and in pretty much all my clips I start at some bit of altitude. Altitude isn't necessarily a bad thing to have, but the Allies kind of rule the skies when it comes to high altitude. They have infinite amount of AIM-7 Sparrows they can launch at you, and as a result you're probably just going to end up being forced down to the deck anyways. So what I like to do is actually attack them vertically. I like coming from underneath Phantoms, especially because of how hot their engines are, and they're only hotter when you come from below. And I go straight up at them, pull some lead, launch an R60, and they either don't see me because the spotting system doesn't work down as well as it does up, or they're just not paying attention anyways because they're so tunnel visioned on their radar targets. So what I always like to do is exactly what you see on screen. I get some altitude, I wait until we find targets, I cut the afterburner, kind of glide down to a lower altitude, and ideally come from straight underneath them and zoom right up. Unfortunately, I don't quite get that opportunity. The angle of attack is a little more shallow. Nonetheless, if you're not paying attention, you're still not going to be able to dodge an R60 at that range. All of these targets could be easily avoiding these R60s. They all have flares, but they're simply just not paying attention. And that's where the MiG-21 SMT and even the BIS really thrive and shine, is just creating chaos. Get in the middle of the map, be the furball, while, yeah, you still have to keep your head on a swivel, kind of like I am. I'm just kind of making sure nobody's on my 6. And granted, from where I came from, nobody really should be on my 6 except for this guy right here. And since I kind of just came up from the middle of nowhere, straight up in the middle of the map, none of them really either paid attention or I wasn't spotted for them, and I was able to get a couple free kills from that. This guy shoots his missile a little too far. I don't have flares, so you have 2 options. You can either turn and go hot on him so that the missile no longer is tracking your engine, Or if it was launched at range like that one is there, you can just kind of pull left or right. Granted, you're at high speeds, because once you no longer see the smoke trail, it means the missile's just kind of gliding on energy. And if you can make the missile turn any direction and keep your speed, you're going to be draining the missile's speed, and it's going to be pretty easy to outrun at that point. Anyways, that pretty much wraps up this game. I don't do anything else. The game's over. Just going to kind of stat pad on this CL-13 right here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the MiG-21 SMT gameplay, and I hope you enjoyed the format of this video. Let me know in the comments below. See ya.